Before we start today, we want to take a moment. We are all devastated by the tragic events at the Lapu Lapu Festival in Vancouver last night. To those who were killed and injured, to the Filipino community, to everyone in Vancouver and the first responders, we are thinking of you and sending our love.
Hey, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Amanda.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Kathleen.
And this is the federal election edition of Beyond a Ballot, powered by DoorDash.
Hello, I'm Hannah Thibodeau. It is, guess what? The last day of the election campaign. Can you believe it? I'm a little teary, everybody. Sunday, April 27th. Let's get right into everything because this is a free-for-all with the ladies today. Rachel Siegel, I'm going to start with you today. You are zeroing in on some of the tightest battleground ridings, but I have to mention this because we've been talking not on the program with each other. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's riding. We spoke about it on an earlier podcast. Now Elections Canada is reporting that Mr. Poilievre's riding is seeing the highest voter turnout in Canada during the advance polls. Tell us what this means and then dig into the other ridings you want to talk about.
Well, you have to remember, Pierre has been the member of parliament here for about 20 years, and he started as a young pup in this riding. And so the way that I read this is really that he has spent so much time getting to know the riding, having relationships over the course of 2 decades with families and people and community groups. I think that there has been a large narrative around this riding. And in my mind, and we'll only know on election night, but this is a show of support for a longtime member of parliament. Okay. So my gut is saying he's not losing this riding, but it's definitely on my list of ones to watch. And when we talk about leaders losing their riding, I'm watching Burnaby and Jagmeet Singh, his riding. You'll remember he was parachuted in there a couple of years ago when Kennedy Stewart, who became the mayor of Vancouver, decided to resign his federal seat. And that seat was up for grabs. And so Jagmeet Singh was the deputy leader of the Ontario NDP from Brampton. I actually used to see him in court in Brampton years ago when he was a young lawyer. And so his connection to British Columbia has always been, I will say, a little loose. But I think that this campaign, it has really been hard for him to keep up with that, with so many seats across, with his riding, with so many seats across the country on the break of losing them. So that is one I'm watching as well. But there are so many interesting seats in this race. This is a race we haven't seen before. And so many seats are, it's not always like a liberal conservative race, but sometimes it's a conservative and an NDP riding. And so some of them, even Saanich Gulf Islands, which is a green riding. Elizabeth May holds that riding, a traditional conservative riding. Gary Lunn held it for a long time, looking like the Conservatives.
Oh, Gary Lunn.
I know. He was the sport minister during the 2010 Olympics. He's the same height as me. Fun fact, he was the first politician I ever worked for.
No way.
Yes. So shout out to my friend Gary Lunn. But that went to Elizabeth May a few election cycles ago, and now everybody's watching to see if the Conservatives will pick that one up again. Nanaimo Ladysmith on the North Island, that's also a green conservative split right now. Whether or not Tamar Cronus, who has been there for a long time, knocking on every door in the riding, will pick that up. Toronto St. Paul, does everyone remember that one?
Oh,
From the big by-election we had in June.
How could we forget?
How could we forget? So Leslie
Church.
Leslie Church is the Liberal in that riding. Dom Stewart is the Conservative. He picked up that long-held Liberal seat in the by-election. Will he keep it? Also,
I don't think so.
Staying in Toronto, Eglinton Lawrence is held by Yara Sachs, a longtime Liberal minister, being challenged by Roman Baber, who was a former provincial politician. That one
leadership hopeful.
Leadership hopeful. That's
yep.
right. I almost forgot about that. That's one to watch. And the one out here in British Columbia that we all have our eyes on, Abbotsford Langley, because Mike DeYoung, who is the former finance minister of British Columbia under the Liberal government of Christy Clark and Gordon Campbell's long time. I think he held like every portfolio in BC. Well-respected politician out here. He was gunning for the Conservative nomination. The Conservatives ultimately did not let him run. Will that riding, which is a Conservative stronghold, be split between him, who's running as an independent, and the Conservative candidate? That's the one I'm getting on the ground here all the time. People are asking me about that riding, and I know there's going to be a lot of British Columbians watching that one.
There's also LaSalle and Mara Verdun as well. That was a by-election that could go back to the Liberals as well, right, Amanda?
Yes, could.
Yeah.
There's
Go.
I won't get it. Rachel did all her good stuff on the ridings to watch.
Well, I could do 17 more ridings, but those are my top ones that I'm watching.
Kathleen, can you go through, I know we were talking again ahead of time, just about the ones that you are sure the NDP will take this campaign?
Well, you know what? I'll actually pivot off your question and say, you know what might be for listeners to listen to is that we have new ridings in this election. So we had previously 338 ridings across Canada, 338 seats in the House of Parliament. But when the ridings were redistributed a few years ago, new ridings came into effect. So now there are 343 ridings. So they're actually, there's new ridings, and then all the other ridings have been kind of slightly, not all of them, but most of them have been rearranged or, gerrymandered is what we call them. So there's new boundaries. So for instance, in the riding that Rachel cited around Carleton, where Mr. Poilievre is running, in fact, his riding took in more rural areas. So more farmers, more people in the rural area are actually voting in that riding. So there's some credence to what Rachel is saying in terms of Mr. Poilievre actually keeping that seat, because those new voters in that riding actually strengthen the Conservative quote unquote bona fides of that riding. Similarly with St. Paul's in Toronto, I mean, that really wasn't a Conservative seat. He won it in a by-election because of the negative sentiment towards Justin Trudeau at the time. So it would seem quite natural that it would move back to the Liberal fold. And Leslie Church, who has been campaigning there for years, would take that back. I think overall, Rachel's right to focus on Burnaby Central, which is the riding where Jagmeet Singh is running. It's going to be a hard fight for him there. But a reminder, a previous party leader also ran in that exact same seat. That was Tommy Douglas. So I know at this point in the campaign, Hannah, it's now E-1. At this point, for 10, maybe even 12 days, most of the war rooms have been emptied out. So all the staff that were working in the war rooms, writing speeches, doing issues management, doing digital, now they've all been for the last 2 weeks sent out to the campaign. And so they're all there working, pulling votes, knocking on doors, setting up for E-Day. And so there's a lot more resources in all the ridings right now. And so the fight is on. And New Democrats are known for their ground game, but we do have a lot of distance to make up in terms of the polls.
So Kathleen was mentioning those new seats. There's one in BC, 3 in Alberta, and 1 in Ontario. So Amanda Alvaro, Liberal leader Mark Carney, what are they thinking, and what are they planning to do one day before people cast their ballots?
Can you imagine? Sometimes when we get to this place, and we've all been talking about politics, and it has felt like, sometimes it's felt like a marathon, sometimes it's felt like a sprint, it's felt like both. It's an exhausting place to land at this juncture in the campaign. I mean, they're being fueled by adrenaline alone. They have literally traversed the country. Sometimes, and often they're in one province in the morning and they could be in another province by the evening. It's not just them, it's their families, it's all of the staff, and we've talked a lot about it. It's the media who's on the road with them. It's the commentators who are keeping up with it. It's, and I think at this point, listen, for Liberal leader Mark Carney, this is an extremely high stakes election because he's on the brink, the cusp of potentially winning a majority. And I can't imagine the kind of pressure that he is feeling at this point. He's also one of he may be the only of the truly national party leaders to not only hold his seat, but to keep his job. And I think for the other leaders, the biggest questions coming out of Monday's election and Tuesday's commentary will be who stays on after this race. If Polyev loses his seat, if he hands over a majority, and it really is a handover. I mean, the Conservative Party was leading by 25 points.
What if Polyev pulls out a majority Conservative government?
Oh, bye-bye, Mark Carney.
Yeah.
For sure.
Bye-bye.
I'm talking odds right now. So if the Liberals win a majority, I think Polyev is done. I think this is the one and done party. They have not, they head into a leadership review. Many of the party in their constitution and their bylaws require a leadership review after an election. So I don't think he survives that. If he keeps them to a minority, he may be able to hold on to his seat, but these will be questions. And we know there's a lot of Ontario Conservatives in particular that are already gunning for him. So we will have to see what happens there. I think Jagmeet Singh
Nova Scotia too.
Exactly.
Sorry, Amanda.
And Jagmeet Singh has been really forced and has had to dodge a lot of questions about his leadership. That's not the thing that you want to be talking about the last couple of days heading into Election Day. And he has done a pretty good job of having to pivot off of that, but his leadership will be under review. Elizabeth May, who's co-leading, if she loses her seat, does she stay on as a co-leader? We don't know. But I think these are the kinds of, call them anxieties, but these are things that are concerning not just to the leaders themselves, but to the parties and to the people who have put so much time and energy into this, and to the families that have, they're awake at night thinking about the future for their spouses.
I'm going to ask that of both of you too. And Kathleen, I'm going to start with you. When you wake up on the last day of the campaign, what was on your mind? And Rachel, I want you to do this too right after Kath.
So on election day, it's really a strange moment for the leader of the party, their family, and senior staff. It's the only day in the campaign where you're kind of like, what do I do with these idle hands, right? So sure, you can do some polling, you can, look at vote houses and kind of make sure they're tallying data, but senior staff and the leader don't do that. So really it's a pivot time. It's time to get ready for election night. I worked for Jack Layton, an NDP leader, and he always would, prioritize exercise, which actually is a good life skill to have that. Mm-hmm. So he would always get to the gym on election day, do a workout, eat well, maybe even have a nap, and get prepped for that big night speech, right? And so if you're a speechwriter in senior staff, if you're the director of communications or a political lead, it's a trying time too, unless it's a very clear. I think that if you're Mark Carney, on Mark Carney's team tonight, you probably have 1.5 speeches. If you're Pierre Poilievre, you probably have 3 different speeches, right? If you're Jagmeet Singh too, you probably have a couple. And these are decision points. Do you resign on the night of? Do you resign the day after? Do you, what do you say about the future in terms of what you're going to implement? And so you're trying to finesse these messages. And then of course you have to do the setup, because election night is the biggest night of all of the election. So in terms of events and backdrop and technical specs, you're going to have more media at those events than you've had at any other moment in the campaign. So you're dealing with, tech risers, all the audio checks, technical checks, all that stuff. And it starts early and it starts often. And so it's a really busy time, but for the family, it's that moment to just really, their job at that point is to support the mental state of their partner, loved one, whatever. And that often means extended family comes, obviously children, but even brothers and sisters. I know Rachel Notley, the Premier of Alberta, always had her best friend there which I always love that, you bring your bestie on election night. And I think that that's really, a moment to kind of like just be there for your person and to recognize and acknowledge all the sacrifices that the wider team, staff, family have made for the last, 37 days.
Yeah.
More.
Rachel, you wake up tomorrow. What are your thoughts for the team?
Well, I just want to respond to the two that are already measuring the drapes for Mark Carney. And because
Go, girlfriend.
Sincerely, and we have a lot of conservatives that listen, and my message to them is this race is really not over. Like, we say that and we're hopeful, but this specific race is in play for anyone. And I want you as conservatives sitting here the day before election day to really hold on to that hope. This has been a good campaign for the conservatives, regardless of the people that are trying to spin that it's not. Pierre Poilievre is a strong leader. We have seen him attract support for an extended period of time. He has put a lot on the line. Young family. He cares about this country deeply. He has a lot to lose in this election. Personally, Mark Carney, not to be super partisan, but really, he walks away and he's been the prime minister for 9 days and leader for a very short period of time. So not personally a lot on the line. So I do want to recognize the sacrifice that Pierre Poilievre and the Poilievre family, especially his young children, I as someone with young children feel that deeply. The sacrifice they've made to try and make this country better. And so what I will wake up tomorrow and
that was a big sigh, Rachel.
Because I mean it. I mean it. And I mean it. And I think it's been a tough battle for conservatives in this race. But I think that we often lose sight of just how many people are supporting the party and the leader. And that should be recognized. So tomorrow I am going to wake up. I am going to feel very hopeful. The campaigns will be shifting. We ID our vote and then we get them out. And so what the volunteers, massive volunteers and conservatives have an extraordinary ground game across the country. And thank you to everyone who has knocked on a door or made a phone call on behalf of your conservative candidates in this country. But that's really where the shift goes. And it's the whole day tomorrow will be getting people out and make sure that we're securing all the support that we can in the hopes that we will pick up a government tomorrow night. So I've worked on a lot of campaigns. I am always the one, even if we're winning, that writes a concession speech. I am that crazy person. I will always have a concession speech for my person because you never ever know what's going to happen. And, even going in a couple of years ago in a municipal campaign here in Vancouver with tons of support and everyone saying, you guys are going to win. I sat there the night before election night and I wrote an entire concession speech just in case, because as political staff, we always have contingency
You always have
plans.
to do that. Yeah,
exactly. So what are they doing? I think when we juxtapose the leaders and their families, I will say that the Poilievre family has gone above and beyond what the other leaders' families have shown in this campaign. Namely, Mark Carney's family has been pretty absent. You'll see Anna next to Pierre at almost every campaign stop. The kids have been out. Jagmeet's also young dad, young family have been out with him a little bit. But I think that ultimately what we will see from Pierre and the Poilievre family tomorrow night is really that show of support of his family, potentially his parents with him coming in from Calgary, and a lot of support, I think, from his local riding, which he will be in.
I get a little emotional at this time. It doesn't matter who I'm covering. This is almost a wrap for us, but we have a huge surprise. Rachel, do you want to say it?
We are. Yeah,
go.
We're not going to leave you guys hanging on election night.
Not yet.
In fact, we are not going to leave you hanging so much that we are going live. So anything could happen with some very special guests. We have an amazing lineup of people that are going to be joining us. We're not going to tell you who it is. You have to tune in, but mark your calendars. No, we're gonna. They got to tune in. There's some big hitters that are coming. Big hitters.
I almost want to tell them.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Okay. So here's a couple things, Rachel.
Yes.
Live.
Live.
10
Mark
to
your
11.
calendars. 10
10 to
p.m.
11
on
Eastern,
election night.
Instagram.
Night.
And we have it's an only all women election night gab fest.
Mm-hmm.
Kathleen, she's on CTV with our pal Vashi Kapelis, but she's going to jump in whenever she can. We are going to do our best to get Kathleen in there, but we are going to have former interim leader of the Conservative Party, Candace Bergen, also top advisor to Jagmeet Singh, Anne McGrath. She's going to be in Mr. Singh's riding in Burnaby, BC.
Woo.
So we know the stakes are high for Mr. Singh. And we will have former Liberal cabinet minister Mary Ng to give the scoop on the Liberal results too. And of course, our gang will be here and we will be breaking down the results as they come in. And that's a big time for the results as well, because Ontario will be in, Quebec will be in, the Atlantic provinces as well. So I hope you guys can tune in for that. That's really exciting. And I have a few things to say just before we go.
Oh.
Before we wrap finally, I want to say how much of an honor it was to be here with you three amazing women. See, my heart's killing me right now. These political conversations really matter, especially for women, especially I admire all three of you. It's been a joy to share them. I want to thank our listeners. And hey, maybe you have felt a spark like I have along the way. No, I'm not running. But maybe it will lead you to join a political party, any political party, because look at how we can have these discussions in safe spaces. And I think that's important as well. Maybe one day your name ends up on a ballot, or maybe you just help shape a campaign from behind the scenes, just like these three wonderful, incredible women have done and continue to do. We hope we've helped you feel a bit more informed, a bit more empowered. But the biggest thing is you have to make it count. So go out and don't forget to cast your ballot. Okay, oops, addendum. I forgot to mention, we will be back one more time to give you the full breakdown. All of us will be back on Tuesday for 1 full hour. Yes. So don't forget to tune in on Tuesday. So we're back one more time, everybody. Woo.
Thank you for listening. New episodes come out daily, and you can find Beyond a Ballot on Instagram and wherever you find your podcasts. A huge thank you to our title sponsor, DoorDash, and sponsors Equal Voice, Page, and Canada Powered by Women for making this election special possible. Speak to you tomorrow.